For calling in. Our next caller is John Gradwick in Halifax. Hi.
Hi, good afternoon.
Would it be easier to give if there were fewer charities?
Well, I suppose it would be easier to give. I'm not sure, though, whether anything we can do in that sense makes our giving more effective. The thing that really worries me at the moment is that clearly, I think for the majority, I don't know whether I'm normal or not, but I suppose I get on average about 2.5 requests a day, either by mail or by phone or by email or whatever. Across the board, I find on average I'm getting about 2.5 requests a day. A large majority of these are medical or medically related. And my difficulty here is I haven't got any means of knowing myself whether subliminal something or other is worse than tripartite something else. In other words, I'm not a medical judge. I don't know which of those many, many medical requests I get are valid in the sense of being genuine priorities.
So what would help you?
What helped me would be a single central recipient body, probably partly governmental, I'm afraid to say, that would in fact allocate financial resources received to the genuine needs in some sort of priority sense. Okay,
Cathy Barr.
Well, you've got some really thoughtful callers here, and I think this caller is highlighting a particularly interesting issue. Partly, I think the perception that there are more charities and more people asking for money than ever before it is a result of the government downloading that has occurred in the last 20 years or so, not only for medical but also education, etc. In an era when most of the funding for universities, colleges, local schools, hospitals, etc. was coming from government, you didn't have so many charities asking for money, or those charities themselves, if they existed, were often getting money from government as well. In the last 20 years, that's become less true, and therefore you've got you're getting asked for money by your local school, by your local hospital, there's many charities trying to raise money for research for individual diseases because it was found that no money was, not sufficient money was available for that. For example, AIDS. It was in charities that started raising money for AIDS research when governments didn't step in to do that. So I think this is, in fact, a natural outgrowth of a lot of the downloading, et cetera, that we saw throughout the 1980s and 1990s.
A last comment, Mr. Gradwick.
Yes, I agree entirely, and clearly. Most of us would prefer our money to go to. I don't have any sort of. Too many people, I think, have personal interests. I like that one because I know somebody or something or other, or my aunt died of it. But in fact, I don't think that's a very good basis for allocating resources. And I would love to see a method by which you knew very clearly that any money you put into the system, whether it was a large amount or a small amount, was allocated in a most practical and most effective way to serve the broad picture of requirements. Now, I agree that some of these other ones on the edge, not on the edge, but education and things, that brings up a different question. I think I was mainly thinking of this enormous number of medical charities and often one disease charities.
Okay, well, thank you very much for calling, raising those points.
Okay.
That toll-free number, anywhere in the Maritimes, 1-800-565-1940. In the Halifax area, 420-9336. Our next caller is George Fry in Bloomfield, New Brunswick. Hi, George.
Hi, Costas. How are you?
Very well. Would it be easier to give if there were fewer charities?
Costa, I think it's a very interesting question. As a family, we give quite a lot. We donate. And the first thing you have to do is follow your heart to a certain extent. And I think the gentleman that was speaking before me made some very, very good points. But you have to follow the things that you personally feel very strongly about. And I must say, one of the praise for the CBC, which I always praise, I think they did an absolutely super job over Haiti. The fact of publicizing these charities are where you ought to put your money. And this made enormous sense. that the Red Cross has benefited enormously. The Red Cross knows how to handle the money, and fingers crossed it's going to do the right things that the money was intended for.
Now, I know, as I mentioned earlier, there are 25 charities listed on the CBC site. But Cathy Barr, in fact, do you have any idea how many charitable operations of various sizes might be operating in Haiti right now?
I don't know specifically about Haiti, but I would think it's probably in the range of at least double that number. Possibly even more if you think about individual religious congregations that, for example, have a few people down there.
George Fry?
Yeah, this is bothersome. I always find. You see, there's a number of charities that support children, enormous number that do good works for children. My wife and I, my wife was involved with early childhood education, and of course we supported those sorts of charities. But quite frankly, when reports came back from certain charities, we found that the money was not being used as we hoped it would be. And we, in the end, plumped for Care of Canada, which we find to be an extremely efficient organization.
Okay. Cathy Barr, any comment?
Yeah, well, actually, I think that, again, highlights why although it might be easier to have fewer charities, there would be problems with having fewer charities as well. That, in fact, having many charities to choose from is useful. In this case, they weren't happy with the way things were going with the charities they were donating to, so they switched to another charity, which they're now happy with. So, I mean, in other sectors of life, we consider competition generally a good thing. And I think people don't often think of charities in that way, but I think the same thing can be said for charities. Having some level of healthy competition is good. We are all aware that we are being watched, and we are trying to be careful with the money and be effective and efficient and all those kind of things. So I think although undoubtedly it would be easier, I'm not sure it would be better in the long run for there to be fewer charities.
Well, thank you very much for calling in.
Not at all.
Bye.
Goodbye.
In case you just joined us, we're asking, would it be easier to give if there were fewer charities? The toll-free number anywhere in the three maritime provinces is 1-800-565-1940. That's toll-free, 1-800-5...